All right, guys, we're back at it again here today. It's your man Chris Desir here, and this video is going to be about elections. And I'm going to tell you straight off the jump how I feel about them. Elections, right? And y'all got to pay attention to this one. Y'all got to pay real close attention because what I'm going to say is going to divide you people even more. But if you really think about what I'm about to tell you, you're going to see that it makes sense in the long run. The elections are rigged. They're rigged. And you know why the elections are rigged? Is because the system that the elections are based on are flawed. We live in a country where, especially if you look like me, you got any feature that are similar to me, you do not get the same opportunities as everybody else. There are agendas and things being put in place to keep you down. Black people as a whole, colored, melanated people, whatever you want to call it, as a whole, do not get privileges and rights that other people get in this country. And whenever we do get a privilege or right passed, they always put something new in their favor to screw us over again. Let me give you an example. Let me run through our history first before I give you an example of why the specific election system is rigged. You got to learn how the entire system is rigged before you learn how a little piece of it, which is the election, is rigged. If the whole system is rigged, by default, the little piece in it is rigged too, right? Now let's talk about the starting of this country. From the very first time there was a president to now, the system has been rigged for those in power. If you actually read the Constitution, the Constitution was made for those who were in power at the time. When they first started this country, they didn't care about the common everyday person. At that time, the common everyday white person who was there, or even black person at that time, couldn't read standard English. We couldn't read that stuff. The only people who were actually in power, who were benefiting from these laws, were the ones in office. I'm talking your George Washingtons, your Thomas Jeffersons, all of those people. The Constitution was made at that time to protect and uphold them. It wasn't really written for us regular common folk. Now let's jump ahead let's jump ahead 50 to 100 something years. Slavery. Black people are still enslaved at this period of time. We had slave trades. We had people coming in to America. We're just talking about the American slave trade. We're not talking about the Arabian slave trade and all those other slave trades that happened, thousands of years before. We're just talking about for the past 400, 500 years. Slave trade has been going on, and the slave trade is big. We finally get to a point where we get the 14th Amendment passed and slavery has been legally ended. You know what they do after, as soon as they end slavery? They do three main things. The first thing they do after they end slavery and we get that 14th Amendment, right? They instate Jim Crow laws. They gave us the Jim Crow laws. First, they freed us. Now, as soon as they freed us, they give us new laws. And you know what else they do? They instate the prison system. The prison system did not exist. Listen, the prison system did not exist before slavery ended. As soon as all those free slaves from the plantation were set loose, as soon as all those free slaves from the plantation were set loose, the white man thought, where are we gonna put all of these new free black folk? They don't have jobs. We don't want them taking our jobs. They don't have homes, and now they're out in the land. Oh, you know what we should do? Let's create an institution. Let's create new laws that don't favor them, i.e. Jim Crow laws and all these other laws that don't favor these black folk. and cause them to be criminals right after they're free. So a lot of these free black folk, especially the men, get thrown into these early prison systems. Now let's jump fast forward again. Fast forward again. Civil rights movement. Civil rights movement. We had black people trying to finally fight to get back some of our rights, end segregation, end the segregation of the whites and black schools, and try to get everything to be together. You had leaders at that time, such as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, that were rallying up people to do things, rallying up people to do marches, rallying up people to vote, rallying up people to make a difference. The only difference between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King is this. Malcolm X was about action. Martin Luther King was more of a peaceful, was about peace. A thing about Dr. King that most people don't know is that he was funded by the white man, which is a fact. Go look it up. I don't remember exactly if it was the Rockefellers or if it was the Rothschilds. It might have been the Rockefellers, but I'm pretty sure the Rockefellers were the ones who funded Martin Luther King and his campaign. And under Martin Luther King, they were all about peace. They weren't about civil unrest, upsetting people. The white man, you gotta think about what I'm telling you, because this is fact. The white man who funded the white man in power. The white man in power funded the black movement. And these same people that I'm telling you about, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, were involved in the creation of the KKK. So they were both funding the Ku Klux Klan at the time, and they're also now funding the black movement. They're funding both sides of the war. Why would they do that? Is because if you control both sides of the war, you control the outcome of what's going to happen. And what happened? What happened? We're just talking about Dr. King right now. What happened? Because of Dr. King and his movements, we got Civil Rights Act. It wasn't just mainly because of Dr. King. Rosa Parks and all these other great people during the time helped too. But a big part of it was Dr. King and his movement got us the Civil Rights Act. It got us desegregation of schools. But you know what it did? It set up the black people for a mindset of we must have a leader in power to get things done. It put black people in this mindset of we need this leader. We need a leader to do anything. And you know what happened? As soon as the black man, the black leader was killed, to this very day, black people have not been as united as they were back then. We gained Civil Rights Act, but they destroyed our minds. They destroyed how we perceive taking action. They gave us these rights, but now there's no longer a leader. There's no longer a person with authority to lead the black people. Now black people think we can't march together. The only time black people really get together, if there's a tragedy or an event in the community, i.e. a killing of another black person now. or if there's some leader in power which hasn't been in place for 50 plus years now. You see how they do things? They'll do things at the legal level, and they'll do things at the psychological level too. They're destroying you on a legal level, and they're destroying your mind. They're destroying your mind on a psychological level. Now let's go back to Malcolm X. On Malcolm X side of the camp, Malcolm X got involved with the Nation of Islam at the time. And he realized that things weren't, listen, no matter what side of the story you want to take for the Nation of Islam, the fact of the matter is, at that time, the people who were in power were not doing and living the lives that they were claimed that they were living. They were doing things, having wives, being with people. They were putting on a persona, a standard for themselves that they didn't follow. And it's the same thing with 99% of religious communities to this day. The people put on this high persona of themselves, and then they don't live up to the expectation that they set, but they expect everybody else to live up to the expectation. He spoke out against these people, and he spoke out against the white people in power. So he was getting killed on two fronts. Now he had the black community. He had the black community after him, against him. And now he had the white community against him. He had his own people, because black people love to do this. Black people to this day love to do this. Some black people are more scared of walking down the street in a black neighborhood than they are in a white neighborhood. Black people will go around shooting and killing each other. Shooting and killing each other. When there's already white men in the world, there's a white man, the Asian man, the Spanish man already trying to kill us every day. The Islamic man already killing us every day. So you got another leader in power, not only having to fight and talk and speak and rally a people against the white man, and all of his injustices. Now he has to fight and stop and go against the black people and their injustices too. What are we supposed to do about that? What was he supposed to do about that? Fast forward to today. We are at a time in history where race riots are at the highest that they've been. More black people in 2015 were killed by the cops than they were in the entire KKK lynchings back in the 60s. More black people were killed in 2015. And the number has just gone up, especially now in 2020. And now take everything that I say into account. Take everything that I say into account. We've talked about how the system, the presidential system, the people in power have rigged it to only take care of themselves. We've talked about how black people who are in power, if they are in power, they're usually funded by the white man, funded by the people trying to keep you down, to keep you controlled in a controlled state. We talked about how black people are divided. We are now divided against each other. And we are at this notion in time that the only time we can get together is somebody dies i.e. a shooting or a killing of a black person, which there have been multiple of this year, or if there is a leader in power, which we still don't have. We've tricked ourselves to believe that we need a leader in power when each and every single last one of us could be our own leader. And we are continuously fighting against the enemy, protesting against the enemy, and protesting against ourselves. And now you're trying to tell me, in a system that's been corrupt since the very beginning, where anytime the black person tries to get ahead, they do 10 other things to keep us down and separated even more on a physical level, a legal level, and a mental level. You're trying to tell me I'm voting for this person or me voting for that person is going to make a change? You're telling me these politicians who lie through their teeth, who continuously lie through their teeth, will tell you and say anything to get the vote when it's time for re-election. Will lie to you and tell you anything, say anything to get the vote when it comes to re-election. I'm supposed to believe and put my faith in that person when they obviously don't care about me, even though they say they do, when they're obviously lying to your face. You're picking two evils, right? You got the Democrats or you got the Republicans. Those are two evils. Two evils right now. Two evils. And you basically what you're telling me to choose is decide, do you want this part of evil or do you want that part of evil? When you gotta realize at the end of the day, people on either side of the camp, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, left wing, right wing, whatever you want to call it, they're both trying to solve the same problem: how to fix this country. They're both trying to fix this broken country, this broken system. They're both trying to solve the same problem. And you're telling me being divided, think about what I told you earlier, keeping the people, keeping not only the black people, keeping people in general divided, keeping us divided. You're telling me arguing with this person and screaming at them, my side is right, vote for my candidate, versus somebody else saying their side is right, vote for their candidate. You're gonna tell me when we're both trying to solve the same problem, my side is right, your side is right? When we're both fighting for the exact same thing? So it doesn't matter which side wins the election because everybody loses. Every 4 years, we stay divided. So it doesn't matter which side wins. Doesn't matter which side wins. Everybody loses. Because nothing ever gets done and no change ever happens. And even if we do get the change, like I said a million times already, even if we do get a little bit of change, they'll put 10 other things in place for that to not even matter. Stop fighting for a system. Stop putting your faith in a system that doesn't work. It's not believing in a left or right system. It's not tricking yourself into thinking you only have two choices that is going to win. It is realizing you as an individual have the power to make the change. You as an individual have the power to get together with other individuals who have power themselves and work together in your communities to make a change. Things like this that I'm talking about right now never ever get talked about in the news, never ever get brought up in any electoral debates, never ever get brought up ever. The same way that we fight and we protest every day for these people, the Briannas, the Trayvons, everybody. The same way that we protest on a regular basis for those people. Take that same energy and protest for these things that I'm talking about right here, right now. Take that same energy, go up to Parliament and tell them why has nothing changed in the past 300 plus years of this country. And if they're not going to give us this change, let us be free and make a system of our own. This has been Chris Desir, 1J Agency. Catch y'all next time.